When you step into an aquarium, what do you see? A soft blue light? Marine creatures floating leisurely behind thick glass? But perhaps there are things you don't see. Things that only appear when the lights go out, when the corridors are empty, and when a gentle tapping echoes from where no one stands. An aquarium after closing hours is no longer a safe place. It becomes a boundary, where the glass doesn't just reflect images, but also reflects the past, obsessions, and creatures that should never be named. Tonight I will tell you stories that, once known, will make you never look at fish tanks the same way again. And if what I tell you sends shivers down your spine, if you want to accompany the shadows that follow, please subscribe to the channel. Just one click. But for me, it's a profound gratitude. Because you're not just following a story, you're becoming a part of those who dare to confront what no one dares to tell. Thank you for being here. And remember, if anything in the story makes you shiver, don't look back. Brandon Harris, 27, took a night shift job at Ocean Point Aquarium after losing his tech company job. The work seemed simple. Check the tank systems, ensuring no issues from midnight to 6 a.m. On the first night, the aquarium was bathed in a cold blue light, deserted. No footsteps, no whispers. Only the steady hum of filtration and the slow glides of fish behind thick glass. At 2:17 a.m., as Brandon entered the abyssal zone where the giant squid tank was located, he felt something wrong. The water in the tank was rippling, as if something had moved violently from below. But the system recorded everything as perfectly normal. He reached for his phone to record it, but the screen was pitch black. No battery, even though it was at 82% just moments ago. Then a soft tapping echoed. Knock, knock, knock. Brandon spun around. No one was there. Just the dark, murky water, too deep for spotlights to reach the bottom. He was about to walk away when he stopped. On the glass, right where he had been looking, a handprint appeared, etched, ice cold. But from inside the tank, Brandon stood frozen before the handprint etched inside the glass. 5 fingers spread wide, fingertips blurred as if they had slowly slid down and vanished. The glass was crystal clear again, as if nothing had ever touched it. He stepped back, his back pressed against the wall. It must be condensation, steam from the filtration system, he stammered to himself. But his mind knew it was just an excuse. The handprint was clear. Anyone who had ever cleaned the tank would know nothing could condense on nearly 3-inch thick glass from the inside, unless... Brandon opened the surveillance system at the auxiliary control panel, but the abyssal zone screen was staticky, just modeled static, something that had never happened since the system was upgraded 3 months ago. He rewound the footage to 2:17 a.m. He only saw a blurry frame, as if covered by a black mist. But precisely then, in the middle of the screen, a faint white shadow flickered past. Not a squid. Its shape was too long, thin, and standing. Brandon zoomed in to the maximum. The image was pixelated and distorted, but there was no mistaking it. A human form. A human body, standing upright, facing the camera. He quickly called the technical department. No one answered. Outside, the lights along the corridor automatically flickered, not according to the electronic cycle, but as if someone was walking through. Brandon returned to the tank area, and he froze. In the murky water, something was floating slowly near the bottom. Not a fish. Not a squid. An undulating form, human-like in length, with skin so pale it glowed in the darkness, moving without needing to thrash. He turned on the spotlight, shining it down to the bottom of the tank. The thing lifted its head. No eyes, no nose, only a mouth gaping wide to its gills, as if screaming silently beneath the thick water. Brandon stumbled backward onto the floor. When he looked up, the tank was empty. He staggered out of the area. But as he walked through the main corridor, the surveillance screen on the wall displayed a system notification. Abyssal Zone safety glass has been opened. Brandon's eyes widened. Impossible. That tank had no lid, only a completely sealed reinforced glass. He turned back. The door to the Abyssal Zone was wide open, and from the corridor, a draft blew out, carrying the stench of seaweed, and soft, regular wet footsteps echoing behind him. Brandon stood still, not daring to turn around. The squelching wet footsteps continued, steady, squish, squish, as if someone was wading through the corridor. He felt a cold breath on the back of his neck, and the pungent smell of salt and algae rising as if freshly emerged from the deep sea. He gripped the flashlight tightly in his hand and spun around. No one was there, just an empty corridor. But the tiled floor was soaked with water, clearly imprinted with bare footprints, leading from the Abyssal Zone to the back, where the entrance to the underground technical system was located. Brandon, though trembling, followed. He needed to confirm, needed to know what the hell was happening. The cellar door was ajar, a deep shadow like a gaping maw waiting to swallow him whole. He shone his light down. Damp steps, concrete walls covered in moss and stained with scratch marks. At the bottom of the stairs, he saw a rusted iron door, which should have been sealed since 2014 after a fatal accident involving the maintenance team. He had read about it in an old email when he first got the job. A diver, Jonas Rain, disappeared during the giant squid tank maintenance. No body found, no explanation. The case was hastily closed, labeled unidentified accident. The iron door opened, revealing a small maintenance compartment, cold, dark, and still dripping water from the ceiling. In the corner of the room, a torn old diving suit hung limply. Beneath it, a puddle of water with a red light blinking like blood at the bottom of the sea. Brandon bent down and saw it. A diving mask lying face up with a few strands of long, murky gray hair like dead algae clinging inside. On the lens, a scratch mark, as if the wearer had tried to claw at it from the inside. Just then, a rushing sound echoed from above. The squid tank. He heard it. Water was overflowing from the glass tank. Impossible. Brandon ran. He climbed the stairs as if haunted. When he reached the corridor, the entire abyssal area was flooded. Not regular water, but a viscous, inky black liquid, shimmering with a greenish glow like a sea creature's eye. In the middle of that water, a human figure floated unhurriedly towards him. Its face was indistinct. Its body is slender, but abnormally long, and its mouth, that horrifying mouth, was still wide open, emitting a low moaning sound like a whale being cut open. Brandon ran. But the main exit was locked. He turned into the small aquatic area, where only fry tanks and mini corals were kept. But when the lights came on, he stopped dead. All the fish tanks were empty. Only black water remained, bubbling, and handprints, hundreds, thousands of handprints, covered the glass. From the inside, 3 days later, Brandon was found outside the aquarium, unconscious, next to a dumpster behind the parking lot. No one knew how he had escaped. Security cameras, all of them were jammed for 46 minutes, precisely the time he went missing. The hospital concluded he had acute mental breakdown due to panic disorder. No signs of injury, no toxins, nothing. Only one strange thing. The skin on both his palms was peeling in patches, as if they had been submerged in water for too long. Brandon never returned to Ocean Point. He moved cities, living a quiet life, working in a small mountain library. No one asked many questions. And he never recounted that night, because he wasn't sure if he truly survived. Until one Monday morning, he woke up to a cold day. The apartment was silent, but in the bathroom, on the mirror, a layer of mist covered it, even though the heater had been off since last night. Brandon walked over and gently wiped the glass. Nothing. Just himself. But a faint streak of mist stretched from the bottom up, as if someone from behind the mirror was pressing their face close. And right in the center of the mirror, a handprint appeared. Cold, slender, 5 fingers perfectly imprinted. He stumbled backward, but the handprint remained. Brandon slammed the door shut, trembling violently. The apartment was silent, but he heard from the bathroom drain a low moan, faintly echoing from the distant seabed. Don't let us go back to the bottom. That night, Brandon turned the mirror face down, threw it away. But from that day on, whenever he looked into any reflective surface, he saw a blurry shadow standing behind it, indistinct, just standing still, watching. Amy Quinn, a final-year psychology student, took a job monitoring security cameras at Neptune Aquarium, a place she had visited hundreds of times as a child. The night shift here was quiet, repetitive, and largely unnoticed, perfect for someone trying to escape chronic anxiety. Her night shift began at 10 p.m. Amy sat alone in the small surveillance room, surrounded by 16 monitors, each broadcasting images from a different area. The beluga whale tank, the polar blue zone, was Amy's particular favorite. Serene, beautiful, like a living painting. But around 3:12 a.m. that night, she noticed something strange. Monitor number 7, the polar blue area, began to glitch. Then it flashed back on, and the wooden chair placed near the tank, where no one was allowed to sit, had rotated. From facing the tank, it now faced backward, as if someone had just left. Amy blinked, rewound the footage, and her heart stopped. Mid-video, precisely at 3:12, a faint white shadow-like mist drifted past the camera. No sound, no clear shape, just something about an adult's height, floating horizontally and then vanishing. She checked the shift log. No one was assigned to that area. All staff had left by 11 p.m. Amy felt cold, not the kind of cold from the air conditioning, but a chill started from her spine, as if some eyes were watching her through the screen. Amy didn't sleep the entire next day. She dug through all the internal records, documents from 2009 when the polar blue zone was constructed. In an old folder on the server, she found a technical report marked "Handled." A 6-year-old boy fell into the beluga whale tank on opening day due to incomplete safety gates. No one confirmed what happened afterward. All that was known, the tank was closed for 11 months, and when it reopened, its entire internal design had been changed. Amy got goosebumps. This story had never been made public. No press, not a single mention. Meanwhile, the night cameras in Polar Blue, even from old data, always had a corrupted segment at exactly 3 a.m. The following evening, she decided to install her mini camera, hidden in a technical corner, pointing directly at the whale tank. No one was to know, not connected to the system, just an internal recording. 3:12 a.m. Everything was silent at first. Then, slowly, The water surface in the tank rippled. Not much, but very steadily, as if someone was walking on the bottom. White lights flickered, reflecting on the ceiling. On the mini-monitor, Amy saw a small human figure, the boy, wearing an old red swimsuit, hair matted with water, face blurry as if it couldn't focus, eyes as black as ink stains, staring directly out through the glass. Then his shadow slowly sat down on the wooden chair, the very chair that had rotated the night before. Amy gasped. When she checked the actual scene, the chair was still wet. On the seat, there was an indentation as if someone had just sat there, and it left a long trail of salty water on the floor. She reported it to the head of security, but when she went back to check the recording, the video from her self-installed camera had been deleted. The memory was empty. No one believed her. No one even acknowledged the 2009 accident. The following week, Amy was reassigned to the morning shift. The stated reason, not suitable for late-night environments. But from that day on, every night at exactly 3:12, her phone would ring with a message. "Where's Mom?" No number, no reply possible. Just a line of text, cold and wet. Amy couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't stop watching the clock as the hands touched 3:12 a.m. She tried to delete the message, but every time she opened her phone, the words still appeared like an imprint. "Where's Mom?" She wasn't anyone's mother, but something deep in her mind kept whispering, "Yes, you are. Yes, you are." On the third night since her shift reassignment, Amy decided to return to the aquarium against direct orders. She waited until 2:30 a.m. and then snuck in with her old employee card that hadn't been revoked. The aquarium was pitch black, with only faint maintenance lights and the dripping sound of water from the filtration system. She reached the polar blue zone. The beluga tank was still. The familiar wooden chair was still there, facing the tank. Amy approached, placing her hand on the glass. Ice cold. Suddenly, she heard a soft rustling sound, like someone swimming in circles from the inside. The water level began to rise, even though the system wasn't pumping. She stepped back. The display screen on the nearby wall, normally used for educational videos during the day, suddenly lit up, even though no one touched it. An old tape, recorded on opening day in 2009. Amy saw a group of children laughing, running around the tank. A small boy in a red swimsuit snuck away from his mother, climbing onto the edge of the beluga tank. A scream. He slipped, fell in. Everyone ran over, but no one jumped in after him. The camera captured the boy hitting the glass from inside, screaming silently, and then dissolving into the water. Amy sobbed, her eyes filled with tears. She turned back. In the tank, now, the boy was standing, looking straight at her. No anger, no pain, only hope. "What do you need from me?" Amy whispered, pressing her hand against the glass. A voice, not echoing in her ears, but deep within her mind spoke. To recognize. Right then, the water in the tank swirled into a current, and the chair suddenly broke apart, splitting in two. The water swelled, overflowing the tank's edge, and a pale hand reached out, placing itself on the stone floor. Amy ran. She didn't know how she got home, couldn't remember opening the door, changing clothes, or lying down in bed. She only clearly remembered one thing. The next morning, in the bathroom mirror, beneath her eyes, was a bruise in the shape of a fingertip, as if someone had touched her face. A very long time ago. Amy resigned from her job that same week. She didn't give a reason. No one asked. It seemed as though the entire aquarium management, technical department, security and all wanted her to remain silent and to forget. But some things refused to be forgotten. She moved, cut off her phone number, and deleted all data related to Neptune from her laptop. But even with a new computer, a new operating system, every night when she turned on the machine, a pop-up window still appeared in the middle of the screen. 3:12 a.m., polar blue, motion detected, unable to delete, unable to close. One day, she brought her computer to a repair shop. The technician frowned. "This hard drive doesn't store any files like that. Are you sure you're not dreaming?" Amy didn't answer. She knew she was more awake than ever. That night, for the first time in weeks, she fell asleep from exhaustion and dreamed. In her dream, she stood in the middle of the aquarium lobby, empty, pitch black. Only a single light emanated from the polar blue tank. The water rose, and from the bottom of the tank, a small shadow swam up slowly, slenderly. The boy looked at her. Still those eyes. Still the question, "Where's Mom?" But this time, Amy didn't back away. She bent down, touching the glass, and heard her voice from somewhere far away respond, "Here." The next morning, she woke up. Her eyes are dry. Her phone is silent. The pop-up window no longer appeared. She thought everything was over. But then, that afternoon, she received an email, no sender name, no address. Motion detection system error, polar blue area, restarting. Below was an attachment, a video clip exactly 3 minutes and 12 seconds long. Logan Pierce, 32, worked as a tour guide at Deep Sea Haven Aquarium, famous for its colossal jellyfish tank, mesmerizing purple light, and ambient music playing day and night. Logan was sociable, cheerful, and a good storyteller, but he was also easily unnerved by things without explanation. The first person he noticed wasn't a mischievous child or a rude tourist. It was a man who stood still every single day, always in a beige raincoat, standing in the same spot before the jellyfish tank, from opening until closing time. He said nothing, didn't film, didn't take pictures, just stood there, motionless, his gaze fixed on the glass, as if waiting for something to move from the other side. The first week, Logan thought he was a homeless person seeking shelter, but he was clean, polite, and never caused trouble. When asked anything, he just nodded slightly, never answering. By the third week, Logan started to feel something was off. One rainy afternoon, as the aquarium prepared to close, Logan walked past the jellyfish tank one last time to check. The entire area was empty, but the man was still there. Logan gathered his courage and asked, "Excuse me, sir, the aquarium is about to close. Can I help you?" The man didn't react. Only as Logan was about to turn away, he slowly lifted his head and smiled. That smile didn't reach his eyes. There was no life, only emptiness. Logan quickly turned away, but when he looked back, the man had vanished, even though there was no exit within 20 meters. The next morning, arriving early to open, Logan shuddered, because on the surface of the jellyfish tank, faintly misted by the night, was an adult handprint, placed exactly where the man had stood. After that morning, Logan couldn't pretend everything was normal. He recounted the story of the man in the raincoat to the security department. They checked the cameras, but saw no one. For the entire duration from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., the jellyfish tank area was completely empty. Logan thought the system might be faulty, but after 3 consecutive days of seeing the same person standing there and then disappearing when he turned his head, his fear solidified into something tangible, a feeling that something was playing a game with him, a game whose rules he didn't know. One evening, staying late to prepare for the Lights Beneath the Sea exhibit, Logan discovered the wooden chair near the tank had been pulled askew. Even stranger, on the glass, where jellyfish still floated gently, there were two clear handprints. But the eerie thing was that they weren't parallel. One right hand and another right hand, angled differently, as if two people used the same hand to press against it. It couldn't be a child. No one was that tall except an adult. Logan shone his light, wiped the glass, but the fingerprints remained etched as if they came from inside the thick glass. He checked the camera. As he rewound to about 4:46 p.m., he saw something that made his heart clench. In a blurry frame, appearing for just 1 second, a human figure stood close to the tank. Slender build, slightly hunched, head tilted slightly. But when Logan paused at that exact moment, the frame jolted, and the person's hands only had 5 fingers on the right hand. Both hands were identical. The very next day, Logan went to the HR archives looking for all accident reports from the past 20 years. He found a name, Henry Kessler, a maintenance worker in 2004. He got trapped in the jellyfish tank's glass chamber while repairing a pressure valve. The water drainage system malfunctioned, causing the tank to create reverse pressure. His arm was crushed as he tried to escape. Henry didn't survive, but the body was never recovered. The system stated water pressure had carried the body away. Logan felt a heavy weight in his chest. Every time he thought of the name Kessler, he remembered that smile, empty, elongated, and without any light in the eyes. That evening, he decided to leave the jellyfish tank area quickly. But as he passed the tank one last time, his eyes stopped. In the translucent blue water, amidst the glowing jellyfish, was a beige raincoat floating at the bottom of the tank. No person, no movement. Only the hem of the coat, slightly puffed as if something inside was breathing. Logan told no one about the raincoat beneath the tank, partly because he feared being thought delusional, partly because he knew if he spoke of it, everything would become real. But he still came back. Every night, after work, he stood alone before the jellyfish tank, trying to determine if it was just light, an illusion, or if something truly existed inside that glass. On the 6th night, he didn't go home. Staying at the aquarium, he secretly took a portable infrared camera, the kind used to monitor nocturnal activity in deep-sea creature zones, and attached it to an overhead light fixture, pointing directly at the jellyfish tank. 3:07 a.m., the lights in the area began to flicker, not an electrical short, but a rhythm, like a signal. On, office, on, office Morse code. Logan photographed the light sequence, decoded it using an app on his phone. HENRY. His throat tightened. No way. He turned on the infrared camera, switching to live view. Everything in the area was dark except for a heat signature. Human form, standing close to the glass. Just then, the screen flashed. A face. Not the face of a living person, but something human-like. Pale white, sunken eyes, and a smile utterly lopsided. The eyes were like 2 deep ink wells, where light couldn't reach. That face pressed against the glass, right where visitors often took pictures. Logan backed away, but the image remained, not from the monitor, but from the actual glass, right in front of him. A cloudy breath covered the glass, and then a hand slowly tapped the surface. Knock, knock, knock. 3 taps. As if calling for someone to open the door. Logan screamed, rushing out of the area, But as he ran through the main corridor, emergency lights came on. And on every other aquarium glass, there were dozens of handprints, all from the inside. He crashed into a wall, turned to run again, and then the elevator opened. Inside, reflected through the misty steel, was him. Still the beige raincoat, still that smile. And this time, he raised both hands, tapping on the steel surface. Both hands were right hands. Logan quit his job the next morning. No letter, no explanation. He left his employee card, keys, and a blank piece of paper with only one scrawled line: "Don't stand close to the glass." He moved in with his sister in the suburbs, cutting all ties with the aquarium. No social media, no answering calls from any unknown numbers. The first few nights, he slept. But then, that stopped too. Because in the bathroom, the mirror each morning showed a blurry handprint, even though Logan had cleaned it perfectly the night before. Then the car window, then the phone screen, any reflective surface. One day, while washing his face in the bathroom, Logan looked up and saw the familiar face standing right behind him in the mirror. But when he turned, no one was there, just an empty room. And the tiled floor was soaked, imprinted with bare footprints, one step at a time, leading out. Logan started sleeping during the day, staying awake at night, avoiding all reflective surfaces. But one evening, as the wind blew strongly through the gap in the door, carrying a strong, rotten seaweed smell, he knew he couldn't hide anymore. He stood up facing the mirror again and saw himself, but the other face didn't blink at the same time. It smiled and placed its hand on the mirror from the inside. At that moment, the mirror cracked. A thin fissure ran from the middle of Logan's forehead in the mirror, extending straight down to his chin, opening a dark crevice. Inside was the sea, deep, silent, and a knocking sound began again. Knock, knock, knock. Are you still here? If so, thank you for bravely joining me to the very end of this journey. 3 stories, 3 panes of glass, and 3 knocks from a place no one dares to enter. But in the darkness, there are always people like you, ready to listen, ready to confront, and ready to ask, what if this is real? If you like this video, don't forget to hit like, so I know there are still people watching. Please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next chilling stories, mysteries retold by the very whispers of darkness. And leave a comment. Which story scared you the most? Or have you ever heard something tap on the glass in the middle of the night? I'll read every line. And who knows? The next story might just be from you. Good night, if you can.